Hello everybody and welcome to Taunton Parade located in Taunton Town Centre. Now today is Sunday the 1st of June, which can only mean one thing. It is time for the 2025 Taunton Vintage Bus Day. Now I know what you're thinking, this bright street light here isn't vintage. But apart from the very few first buses that do operate in Taunton, all of the other vehicles were heritage buses at the Vintage Bus Rally. Now, my original plan was to go on a few more modern vehicles, and there was one vehicle in particular that I wanted to try and get on, and that was GX06 DYW, a preserved Stagecoach Southeast Trans Bus Enviro 300. Now, I waited for ages and ages and ages. It was supposed to be operating a service towards Wellington, and later on doing a service out to the West Somerset railway station at Bishop's Lydian. However, it turns out they were having a few problems, I think, so in the end the bus didn't come at all. Originally it was running late, and then in the end it just didn't show up. Although saying that, I have heard they didn't even leave Gloucester, which is where the bus is currently being stored, because apparently there wasn't enough demand. I'm not too sure what that meant, however there was certainly demand for it here. Loads of people wanted to get a ride on it. Anyway, after waiting ages and ages and ages, and then learning that the bus wasn't even coming, I decided to wait for the service out to Bishop's Lydian. Whilst I was waiting for the bus to Bishop's Lydian, this absolutely classic Leyland Olympian rolled by, and nobody had any idea what it was doing, not even the organisers of the event. Eventually though, it turned out that it was filling in gaps in the timetable for this vehicle, which is a Bristol VR bus, which is also another great vehicle, as this VR was covering for the trans bus that didn't show up today, which was a real shame. However, I should be going on it a little bit later on in the year at the Bristol Bus Rally at Brislington Park and Ride. Unfortunately, I am unable to attend the Stroud Bus Rally at Stroud, obviously, later on this year due to just reasons. I can't attend all of the events, not even in the southwest. Anyway, I'm going to take this Bristol VR out to the West Somerset Railway at Bishop's Lydian. Here I am arriving at Taunton railway station. This is where a number of bus services connected with the railway services from the railway station, including the 218 service out to Bishop's Lydian and the 205 service, which ran not very frequently out to Wiveliscombe, which is great for the people out that end of town, since they don't get a bus service on a Sunday. The farthest it goes is Copford St Luke, and even then it's only every hour and a half. Now, I did say earlier that this Bristol VR was covering for the trans bus. I think it did most of the day, but its first run on the Bishop's Lydian service that I did was actually covering for a Wallace Arnold Braxton Premier coach, which also didn't turn up. I'm not really too sure why. That was a shame though. The two most modern vehicles at the event, and they didn't show up for whatever reason. Anyway, the 218 took a slightly different route out of Taunton Station than the normal 28A service, as this service ran along Bindon Road instead of Staples Grove Road, but eventually brought out onto the open road. am arriving at Bishop's Lydian railway station, where I did wait for a little bit to see if any other more modern vehicles turned up, including the Olympian, but unfortunately I missed the Olympian by a couple of minutes. So in the end, after having a look around Bishop's Lydian station, I ended up getting back on the Bristol VR, since the bus in front of it, which is some old Bristol thing, I'm not too sure what it was, ended up waiting here for quite a large amount of time to fill in for the trans bus. Here I am back at Taunton, this time at Castle Green, located right next to the Castle Way bus stop, where there was a large display of buses not currently being used out and about on the Taunton bus rally routes. As well as this, there was an electric Yutong on display, as well as a few other vehicles that weren't actually meant to be here. They just turned up, such as the Plymouth City Bus Mercedes-Benz minibus, which is quite nice to see. Now, just as I arrived into Taunton, the Leyland Olympian, that is the stagecoach one, actually just went out to Bishop's Lydian, and that was its final run of the day, which didn't actually happen very late, and unfortunately meant that I couldn't get a full ride on it. However, I did end up going to Taunton Station just to get a short 8-minute ride on that vehicle. Now, on my timetable that I had, it wasn't due until 3 o'clock, so I decided to walk to Taunton Station instead, as the bus going to Taunton Station on the Bishop's Lydian service was another old vehicle, which I'm not really interested in. Here I am arriving back at Taunton Station, this time on foot. Now, just as I got round the corner to the main bus stops, guess what I heard coming around the corner? Yep, it was the stagecoach striped Leyland Olympian. Completely unexpected this. I honestly didn't think it would turn up until 3 o'clock. I'm not too sure what timetable or what service he was running on. But anyway, I did manage to get on it and found out that it used to operate with the Johnson Brothers Tours company, wherever they're based. I'm not too sure, but I have seen pictures of their Leyland Olympians. Are there any left? Here I am turning onto Tangier Way. At the moment, this gets no public bus service as the Taunton town centre stops are located just a short walk away. However, this was technically getting served by the Heritage bus services as they had to drop off at the Corporation Street bus stop located just around the corner from the main parade bus stops next to the market house. Now, later on in the video, I did see another Leyland Olympian, this time an Eastern National one. However, this was a bit of an older Leyland Olympian and didn't sound quite as good as this Leyland Olympian. I think this was more of a Voithy Leyland Olympian, since Stagecoach seemed to order their buses with Voithy engines instead of the regular engines for some reason. Here I am back just around the corner from the parade on Corporation Street where the Heritage bus services were dropping off as the normal parade stops were the picking up stops and were getting extremely overcrowded. Now I did ask the people who are running this bus and they said that they weren't doing any more operations, which was a shame, but at least I did manage to get a ride on this vehicle. After seeing the Ford Transit minibus roll through Taunton Town Centre and having a look at the display around Castle Green once again, I got to the stop for services heading towards Wellington just to see what would pop up and take my fancy. And this thing did. This Plymouth City Bus Mercedes-Benz Plaxton minibus, which isn't even planned to be here. I have heard that this vehicle has had problems in the past. However, I think it looks extremely fascinating. It has an amazing old retro Plymouth City Bus livery. Unfortunately though, that run that it just did, I'm not too sure where it came from, was its last run of the day! No! But instead of going out onto the Wellington 203 service, because this service was getting very busy and didn't really have any interesting buses on it, apart from the other Leyland Olympian, which would get me in just before my bus, so if I missed it, I was kind of screwed. So in the end, I had to settle for this other Mercedes-Benz minibus, which was also a Plaxton minibus, which is in the Southern National or Western National livery. They're all kind of combined national companies. This is on the local service out to Bradford-on-Tyne. I thought it was quite good that Bradford-on-Tyne was getting served by the Heritage bus services, since even on a regular day, it doesn't get a bus service at all, which I think is absolutely appalling. I did get on this minibus last year, and once again, it was an absolutely amazing vehicle.
I'm used to driving the thing, so it's nice to be on the other side.
Yeah, the one Do you drive for...
I own a minibus.
Oh, nice.
So,
Here I am passing through the village of Bradford on Taunton itself. We were scheduled to stop in the village for around 5 minutes, but in the end we just rolled through the village for no apparent reason, to be honest. I expected a lot of the people on this bus to get off, but in the end they just did the full round trip between Taunton, Bradford on Taunton and then back to Taunton again, which I found very strange. Maybe this village doesn't need a bus service after all. Just so we weren't running early, as we were running quite early when we left Bradford on Taunton, we had to pull into the interchange at Sheppey's Cider Farm and Shop. This is a very popular tourist hotspot and can get very busy during the summer with people who have travelled by car and public transport, as the regular 22 service stops right outside. The Heritage bus services though were stopping inside the main car park, which meant you didn't have very far to go before you got drunk. Let's be honest right there. This is Somerset, the home of cider.
Those kids have walked from Sheffield to... Does he actually?
yeah, because I get pissed off the message, so he blocks her. Because one sends him all like articles and shares stuff.
Yeah.
And mine just gets annoyed and just blocks her.
Yeah, I can imagine I would get rid of it, yeah. It wasn't something I feel with.
See, but you know what?
Here I am arriving back at Corporation Street in Taunton Town Centre after having a lovely ride out to Bradford on Taunton. Here I am back at Castle Way. Now I must admit this probably hasn't made a very interesting video, however I thought it was worth putting up these little clips that I got of the Taunton Bus Rally 2025 up onto YouTube. So if you did find this video interesting, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. I would like to hit 1,000 subscribers one day, but it's miles and miles away off yet. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and look out for hopefully better bus videos in the future. Bye everyone!